Hey guys, I'm Reena Parikh, the host of Integrity, the Accountants Talkshow. आज के जो मेरे गेस्ट हैं So guys, I have Ramneet with me, the girl who started her journey from being an international student to a senior tax consultant, from a senior tax consultant to a co-founder and CGO of Empower. So Ramneet is with me here, and Ramneet, I would like to know how does your journey started, and like how did you thought of having so many different variations or so many different experience of your life? How would you put it together? What would the challenges you have faced when you thought of shifting to Canada? And how does the journey started? How does this Empower came in? So there are a lot of things I think you have experienced in their journey. So we would like to know that first.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great question to start with, and also gives the audience a bit of landscape of how things came around and how I came to where I am currently. So yeah, as you said, I came to Canada as an international student right out after my grade 12. I
Mm.
already had my sister here, so it was kind of family decision to move me here as well. I personally wanted to like stay in India and probably go through the whole CA process and maybe get my MBA and move to Bombay or Delhi and get the work. It's like every small town girl's dream, I would say, in India. But then yeah, Canada, I guess other things were in store for me. So yeah, I came to Canada to study business accounting. So it's a specialized program in advanced accounting in Canada. So I think that gave me a very good foundation to go and search for careers. I think like, if I'm being very honest, there wasn't really a lot of thought that went into which area of accounting I want to go in. Like, I wasn't even aware of the whole landscape of audit and tax and advisory. All of that I only got to know once I started doing my job search, and actually more so when I started my co-op with KPMG. So my career in KPMG or tax just happened because of the opportunity again. The position was open, and at that time, the big four in Canada is very similar to the big four in India. They wouldn't accept anyone from colleges. They were only hiring from the tier one universities, and those were the students who got a chance to get into big four. And how big four works here, I'm not sure if it works the same way in India. There is no technically entry level position in big four. Like, the entry levels are the co-ops, and when you turn your co-op into a full-time, because usually students here do a minimum of 3 to 4 internships and co-ops during their program. So they expect you to almost have about 2 years of experience by the time you become a graduate and you're looking for a full-time role, and you start with almost like an intermediate accounting position, as a even though it's, as we say, it's post-graduation, so technically it should be entry level. And ultimately, once I was in the co-op, I started working in the private client cross-border tax group, which is essentially personal tax for high net worth people. So
Yes.
when I started in that field, I just realized how big of a scope it has, because I was doing both US and Canada, and people don't understand of how much interaction US and Canadian tax has with the entire world. So I was seeing clients from Europe, from Asia, from Australia, from UK. Like, I worked with clients all over the world. And
Okay.
it just made me realize how big of a scope I have, and I could go anywhere in the world and still have a relevant career, because I've done Canadian and US tax, and those are the bases for everybody else. And I've interacted with a lot of other tax jurisdictions, so I know how to read tax returns from every country. So I think the global aspect of that was something that enticed me to continue my career. So when I started working full time, and I was, I think, second or third year into my career, I already became a senior tax consultant. So I think career was going pretty smoothly, but I would always get these students who would reach out to me asking me questions about how did I get into Big Four? Because again, as I was telling you, it's not a norm for someone to come from a college and go into Big Four. So everybody was all very intrigued on how I was able to build that career. So I would meet students and I would tell them basically everything I've learned and all the people that have helped me get the job. And then that's when I realized, okay, there is hunger for this kind of information and students need to be informed. And it's also reminded me of how difficult job search was for me. You forget once you're in it, but then it reminds you again of, okay, I did go through a lot while looking for a job. So Isempower happened just because of that. Like I was meeting a lot of students and I wanted to make a change. So I started creating LinkedIn content around job search and around best practices of landing your job in Canada and Big Four and how all of that works. And it got good traction. I got connected to a lot of students, and that's how I met Pat, who's the co-founder of Isempower. She already had been building this for about a year and a half before I joined her. And when I saw what she's doing, it was amazing because again, it made me realize my content also had a cap. Like I could only reach so many students, and consuming a 2-minute content is not the same as having understanding of what a job search journey is. And I can't have a one-on-one coffee chat with every student. So then I realized, okay, I want to make an impact on a scale. And that's when we started building Isempower. And before we were a non-for-profit. But then, if we want to play in this space, there's no government funding for international students. So we wouldn't be able to, run a non-for-profit at scale. And if we need to get funds from VCs, we have to make it a startup. So I think it was just a whole lot of, questioning of where exactly can we fit ourselves in so that we can make the biggest impact. And ultimately building a platform for students to help them get jobs. We partnered up with employers and bring the jobs to the students. We do education around for the students. We've built like job search training programs and the tons of resources. And we also partnered up with universities so that students can get this information when they arrive, because you have to start preparing for it very early on. You can't prepare for it when you're graduating. It's kind of too late at that point. You have to strategize your semesters in a way that leads you to the career that you really want.
So definitely, as you said, like you have taken step by step and things have started turning out to be in a very right direction for you. And I think because of your efforts, because of your co-founder efforts, like you have been also awarded as top 10 woman entrepreneur. Your co-founder Pat has also been awarded as a young, I think she has been nominated as a young entrepreneur, right? So how does this feel?
I think it's still, if I'm being very honest, I don't think so. I deserve it yet. I'm always very honest about, there are people in this community who are doing much, much more. But ultimately, it's how much visibility you have and how many negotiations you can make and how good you are in building relationships.
Like definitely there would be a lot of students, there would be a lot of international immigrants who would be connecting with you and would be talking about the job opportunities at Canada or in Canada, right? So how does the picture looks like, and especially in the accounting industry? Let me be specific because even you are from that industry, even I'm from that industry, right? And we being in an offshore staffing also. So what do you think? How does the scenario looks like, and how the position has changed, especially after COVID? So whether in Canada also offshore staffing is being considered as an option, or like they still prefer to go for an in-house onshore staffing? So how the scenario is right now?
Yeah, I think COVID has really changed the way accounting industry operates, and I'm very positive that it's going to continue down that path. For one, working from home became such a norm, which I feel like should have been even before. For someone who's not in audit and not going to clients, you don't necessarily need to be in the office to do anything. I don't get my clients coming in. As I say, all my clients are all over the world, so it has always been video chats. And it's actually funny that when March 2020 hit and we had to start working from home because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
our transition was so smooth because we were
Yeah.
actually just doing everything online. We were just in the office for the sake of it, but outside of that, everything we were doing was already virtual and remote. So our team's transition was so smooth, and if anything, our productivities went even higher. And the results we've gotten, even during pandemic, we were able to hit our targets, and if anything, we were able to exceed the revenue targets. So I think it was an indicator enough for the management to see that something has to change. And and it comes with everything from the people we hire to how we work and when we work. So the offshore teams, I think, have been a much more popular option now. Like even my team, I work with offshore team, and every team I know, even in the US, works with an offshore team.
Right. So I think, like as you said, like so US and definitely US and Canada tax jurisdiction and like even the accounting industry. So it's almost like it goes in the parallel direction, right? So for example, like because for me the audience for like the target audience would be more of the CA dropouts or inter CAs, like who
Mhm,
are thinking for their future in this outsourcing industry, right?
mhm,
So in Integrity, we try to give opportunities to specifically to the CA dropouts or semi-qualified CA or probably CPA pursuing, EA pursuing, CMA pursuing, right?
mhm,
So it's not like when I'm saying on CA dropout, so exactly for us, designation is not something wherein we are looking for, but it's actually the knowledge. So do you think that from Indian perspective, specifically from Indian students perspective or professional perspective, how
mhm.
well does like US and Canadian, like, so what should be the area where they should focus? So is there like something like, as you said, CPA is not the only need of growing ahead, right? So
Mhm.
apart from technical skill set, what else things can help them in growing in the professional journey?
Mhm. Yeah, so as you said, outside of the CA is not really a requirement, but the technical knowledge is. So
Yes.
within US and Canada, I would say US definitely is something that is more valuable, because just the way the tax laws are for the US, even if the people move out of the US or go anywhere else in the world, they still have tax liabilities to the US. So the interaction of that industry is never going to end, because there's tons of Americans who move all around the world, but there are tons of Americans who are still in America. So the US tax is definitely something that can help you build a more global career versus Canadian tax, because the interaction stops after a point when and people leave Canada. But if you're looking at purely from an offshore perspective, even for people who don't want to move here, who want to continue to work in offshore offices, I think yeah, being a CA dropout should not hold you back in any way. As long as the offshore offices like yours are ready to hire
Yeah.
those people and train them, I think getting a EA is very valuable from a US perspective, because you need a EA to become a manager to sign off,
Yes.
on returns in the US. So if you have EA, after that, there's no limitation of how far above you can go within the tax jurisdiction. But I think the other skill set outside of technical skill set that can help them would be the first would be attention to detail, because tax is a very technical field, and each and every number, each and every item has an impact
Yes.
overall. So I think that detail orientation is a very, very valuable skill in tax. And also to be able to continue your technical knowledge, because it's not that you can consume it one time and it's done. It keeps changing. If you've interacted with US tax in the past few years, you know how much it has changed year over year. The new forms come out, there's new updates to forms, so you need to be able to be on the top of that. You need to be able to know where to look for answers. So, making yourself comfortable with the IRS code, with the Canadian income tax code. We really have to go back there and look for answers every other day. Like, as I say, even my partners have to go back to the manual and look for those answers. So I don't think so. Tax is a lot about how much you know on the top of your head. Yes, you need to be able to know, the overarching issues so that you can identify the issues, but the very, very technical nitty-gritty, you need to be able to know where to look for those answers, and how to research, right? Because tax is a lot about advisory as well. So the research part of it is very, very important, and to be able to do that research, and apply those technical skills that in your work, I think is. And the last one, and I said in the beginning, is communication, and how much you can become visible, how much you can have those conversations, how you talk to your senior management, the partners that you work with. If you're working in an offshore office and you're interacting with your clients in Canada, how you interact with them. If you can take that step a step further and ask for a coffee chat, and really make yourself visible. I think if you're going to try to put yourself in a shadow, like, it's not going to work, because as I said in the beginning, it's all about who is in front of the eyes. Of course, the technical skill set it's a bare minimum. It's given. You have to have it to be able to succeed. But after that, how much you can be visible, how much you can have conversations, and how willing you are to continue to build your technical update, I think essentially is what can make you very successful in the offshore offices, for sure.
So thank you so much, Ramneet. I think you have given a lot of insight on, like, how, if you're thinking of settling in Canada or maybe in any other country, not only in Canada, or maybe anything apart from your home country. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of challenges wherein you need to be mentally prepared when you're thinking of this option, right? You have also discussed, like, where technical knowledge is more over and above the designation, or maybe where the skill set is much more important than just a designation. And I think you gave a great deep insight about tax and audit as well. So what are the great opportunities for taxation team as well, right? So I would like to come up with my last session, that is rapid fire round. It's a quick rapid fire round. It would be more about Ramneet as a person, right? So if given a choice, would you like to settle back in India, or you would like to continue in Canada now? So what would be your choice ultimately?
I think my ideal choice would be to build a life in between both countries. Canada has its own advantages, and I do really like, and I don't think so I can take this heat in India anymore. But my parents are there, and my family is there, and I always want to go back and work in India. So it will be a life in between both, and with remote work, I think it's possible. So I'm very excited to looking forward to that.
Okay. What is that, like, apart from family? Yes. What is that one thing which you miss about India or being an Indian? So, like, what is that one thing? Like, okay.
Street food.
Okay.
I'm a big time foodie, and I miss that food every single day. And every time I land back, first meal is always home cooked, but the second meal is always some street food. I love the chaat, I love golgappe, so I miss it dearly, dearly to be able to just go and get that. Yeah, I miss the food.
Okay, that's good. So, what you do in your free time, or what makes you happy? So, what's your hobby, probably?
My hobbies. I'm a wanderer, so I love to just I go on random walks and find cafes and just sit in cafes and just have a good cup of coffee. I really enjoy community having having a conversations with random strange people. It's just
Okay.
something that is I don't know, it's a weird habit, but I do really like that. Outside of that, I love cooking and hosting. So I love to cook food for people and host dinner parties in my house. I guess I'm a very people's person. I am just
Yes,
realizing
definitely. I
that.
can. Yes.
And then just doing hot yoga. I love doing yoga as well, yoga and Pilates. So I try to go and do that as much as I can. And also dancing. I love dancing. So I go for I'm learning salsa and bachata. So that is something I'm learning currently. So yeah, these are a few things I enjoy outside of work.
Okay. So now does it happen like when you meet any Indian in Canada? So like, do you feel wow, like someone is from my country? So like, do you get more connected because that someone is from India, or now like it's more than 5 years, so now things are pretty okay? It makes you happy, but it doesn't make a big difference. So
Mhm.
what's the scenario now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of Indians in Canada,
Yeah.
so looking if finding an Indian is actually not a strange thing because yeah, there's tons. So I think after a point, then it becomes about the quality of people that you meet. But I do definitely get very excited when I meet someone from Chandigarh because there's not a lot of people from Chandigarh here. So when I meet someone from Chandigarh, that's very exciting because you've grown up in the same city, you have so much to talk about. So that gets me very excited every time I see someone from Chandigarh.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what kind of food do you like? Like, so now it's still more of an Indian, or the taste has changed completely? Or if you host a party, so what would be the food normally you will cook?
Hmm. I eat everything. As I said, I'm a big time foodie and I love trying new things. So Indian is definitely on it. I'm a Punjabi, so Punjabi food, I don't think I can ever leave that. I love my chole and the saag and the dal and all of that. And I try to cook more traditional Indian food for when I host my friends here because the Indian food we get here is so commercialized. It's just
Yes.
butter chicken and chicken tikka masala and dosa maybe, but like the true North Indian food that we eat every day, the sabjis and puris, we don't get that here. So I try to cook that and give them a new dish that they've never tried before, and give them a bit of insight on that. But other than that, I cook pretty much everything. I like cooking Italian food. I'm dabbling into a lot of Korean food. My best friend is Korean, so she's teaching me a lot of again home cooked Korean food and not the one we get in the market. And I have another friend who's Thai, so I have a very diverse group of friends, and I try to get those domestic, as we say, recipes from them and get them to teach me how to cook food like an actual Thai person and try to teach them how to cook food like an actual Punjabi. So it's a lot of I like to try everything. I've never said no to a new experience outside of seafood that's raw. That's I'm still I'm still making my peace with that. I don't think so I can eat raw food or raw meat yet. But outside of that, I'm up for trying everything.
Okay. So what is that one dream which is like still you have not achieved, or you are still working towards that? So is there anything?
Oh, so many dreams. I'm a big dreamer. So I think, but the biggest dream that I'm still working towards is having the financial liberty of being where I want to. I
Okay.
think having that's a luxury that you can build, and it's financial independence ultimately, and also building a career that's not location centric. So I want to be able to do that so that I can be, home with my family when I want to. I can be somewhere else in the world when I want to. And I think I'm getting a step closer to it by every move that I'm making. But yeah, that's a dream waiting to be realized, and also being on the TED stage. That's my dream, to be a TED speaker and have that TEDx speaker right next to my name. So yeah, I'm waiting for my TED talk. Hopefully happens soon too.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure. Do you have any regrets, or maybe you think, oh, that was a big mistake I made? So any such big regrets of your life?
Not a big regrets. I don't think so. I live a life with regrets because it whatever happens happens. But I do sometimes think I wished I would have moved here a bit later. Like as I said, I moved right out of grade 12. So I never really got that college experience. When I was studying, I was doing two part-time jobs. There wasn't any time to hang around the campus or live in the dorms and have that kind of carefree life, my responsibilities
College,
started.
college life,
Yeah,
actually.
I had to pay my rent and do all of that, which a lot of international students do, right from when I was 19 years old, and I've been working since I was 19. And so it's like I never had that time when I was just studying and not working. And I wish sometimes that I've done my bachelor's in India so that I could have gotten that time, and then moved for a master's and take on all these responsibilities, which would be there by until the end of the time, I guess. So that's a regret I do live with. I wish I was a kid more and more carefree. I think I missed out on that quite a bit, but I guess it helped me build a career, so can't
Actually,
complain about it
because
that much.
because like you have gone through those things, you have feel those things, you have faced those things, so probably that's the more way you're that's the reason you're able to empathize with in a much better way, right?
Mhm.
And you know what you have lost or maybe what you have chose to live. So probably the empathy, which is the main core part of yours, which I could understand or which I could make out from your whole conversation, is probably because you have been through all this thing,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And that's
right.
something maybe you are ensuring, or maybe you are trying to help that, okay, I have done this, probably you should not, or maybe try to find a better solution for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that now that I've gone through it, every time I meet students, like that's the one of the thing I tell everyone is just enjoy the innocence and enjoy the carefree time, and don't take up on too much on you before you have to, because there's no coming back from that. There is, there is just isn't. It's going to be like that until the end of the time, so might as well enjoy it while you're there. So I think even when I was a student and doing the jobs, I wish I enjoyed more,
Yeah.
and not be very like focused on like, oh, things I need to solve, because you can continue to do that without
Yes.
actually feeling that pressure on you
Yes.
24/7. So yeah, definitely the empathy does become much higher now that I talk to students,
Yes.
because I realize the cost that they all are paying
Yes.
to be in that journey.
Okay. So the last question of my interview is like, what is that one piece of advice which you have received, and I think probably that has changed your life, and the one piece of advice you would like to give us to our viewers?
Hmm. One piece of advice. Oof, that's tough one. I think I've received some great advice over the years, and everything I've become today is because of the people I've met and the experiences I've learned from. But the best piece of advice that comes on the top of my head is that, every decision you make, it comes with a cost. Um, Even if it's the best decision you're going to make at that point, will come with a cost. Um, it could be a cost of something you're letting go, or it will be a cost of something that is about to come.
Yes.
And when you make that decision, you should think about the cost and accept it,
Yes.
because once you do that, even if the decision goes wrong, you've accepted the cost of it. I
Yes.
think a lot of times we make decisions without accepting the cost, and that what leads to regret. So yeah, that's I think the best piece of advice I've gotten, and I've tried to imply that in every decision I've making, and it has helped me gain more comfort. And the piece of advice I would give to students would be to have faith in themselves. I think a
Yeah.
lot of times I see students who I, I guess it's a virtue of moving and being taken out of that protective environment, that they don't have that faith in themselves, and they wait for others to tell what they're
Come and
worth.
give them a confidence, or probably like encourage them.
Yeah, right. So they wait for others for that inspiration, or for others to find their worth, or for others to tell them, what they deserve. Versus you have to have that faith, a grounded faith in yourself, where you exactly know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and um, you should be able to negotiate and ask for things that really are worth you. And you should be, if you have that confidence and faith, you would be able to ask for help when needed too. A lot of times we don't even ask for help and then
Yes.
wonder why we're not getting that help. So it's just, yeah, have that faith in yourself, and don't let somebody else dictate what your worth is. It's only dictated by yourself, and it should be dictated by yourself, but it should be based off on a very grounded uh very grounded understanding of who you really are, and what your strengths and weaknesses are. So I think that's what I would tell students.
I think that's really probably, I think I can connect with this point definitely, that you should have faith in yourself. Like, don't wait for others to come and motivate you. They might do it for 1 or 2 times, but maybe not after that. So probably, yeah, I think that's a very, very unique, not unique, but that's a piece of advice which, yes, it is very important. We should come and we should say this. Normally we avoid giving such advices.
Yeah.
But I think that's very, very fair. And probably those who would have gone through this will definitely connect with you completely on this part. So it was really great talking to you, Ramneet. And I think it was a wonderful, wonderful conversation which we had. I hope you had a good time. I really had a great time with you. I can connect with a lot of points with you of taking a decision where there's a cost attached to it, of depending on someone like to come and appreciate you all the time. So there are a lot of points where we can connect, a lot of points that, yeah, confidence, communication, technical knowledge. So yes, I think many of the viewers would be able to connect with you, and maybe, yes, they might take a right decision. They might not regret for those decisions in future.
No, thank you so much, Lena, for having me here as well. I absolutely enjoyed the conversation, and I think it's also in a way gets me thinking of everything I've done, and how I can continue to improve myself, and where the places where I can help others as well. So no, thank you so much for everything you're also doing, outside of the previous conversations we've had, and when we speak about the whole culture of people deeming the dropouts as failures, and thinking that this is it and your life is done, but the opportunities are endless. And the benefit of having a global workforce now is that you have opportunities. If not in India, you'll find it somewhere else.
Yes.
But again, it comes down to having that faith in yourself to be able to find that opportunity. But no, thank you for everything you're doing and for this platform, and it was amazing talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe our channel, like, share, and comment. And stay tuned for our next episode, which is going to come out soon. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.